The battlefield of space stretched wide, dark, and endless. Stars burned in the distance like cold eyes watching silently. The alien empire waited with confidence. Their fleets lined across the war zone. Hundreds of massive warships floated like a wall of firepower. Each one carried plasma cannons, shield generators, and enough soldiers to wipe out entire planets. Their commanders were calm. For them, this battle was nothing but another victory waiting to happen. They had crushed many civilizations before. They had reduced worlds to ashes. To them, humans were weak, fragile creatures who rose too fast and spoke too loudly of their courage. The aliens believed this war would be short, easy, and final. But their first mistake was made when they scanned the incoming human fleet. The scans showed strange readings. At first, the alien technicians laughed. The human warships looked old, outdated, slow compared to their shining vessels. Their armor was thick, their engines heavy. Nothing about the human fleet seemed dangerous. It almost looked primitive. Yet at the last second, the scanners detected something unusual. An energy field covered every human ship, but it was not a normal shield. It was silent, invisible, and far more powerful than anything the aliens had seen before. The readings jumped to impossible numbers before the scanners broke down. The alien technicians looked at their generals with fear in their eyes. Something was wrong. The alien commander dismissed their worries. They are humans. They have no true power. Begin battle formation. When they arrive, destroy them in a single strike. The fleet moved into position, weapons locked. The aliens had always seen themselves as the rulers of war. They did not fear. They did not doubt. To them, humans were prey, nothing more. But the silence of space changed when the human war fleet appeared. First, only shadows entered the edge of the war zone. The darkness seemed to grow thicker. Then the humans emerged, dozens of warships moving in a perfect line. They were not fast. They did not shine. Their ships looked like black iron blades, sharp and cold, built for one purpose: destruction. No signals were sent. No warnings. No calls for peace. The human fleet entered the battlefield like hunters who did not need to explain themselves. Every movement was precise, every engine burned with a steady flame. The aliens expected fear. They expected hesitation, but there was none. Inside the alien command ship, tension started to rise. Their scanners could not lock onto the human ships. Every reading failed. Every attempt to measure their strength ended with static. "Why can we not read them?" one officer asked. "Why do their ships look so old yet stronger than anything we know?" another whispered. The commander silenced them. "They are only humans. Do not tremble before them." But his voice was not steady. The human fleet continued forward, silent and slow, like predators stalking their prey. The alien fleet waited with weapons charged. Plasma cannons glowed with deadly light. The commanders gave their order: prepare to fire. But before the command could finish, something strange happened. The human fleet stopped in unison, every ship halting as if connected by one mind. For a long, heavy moment, they remained still. The silence spread across the battlefield. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. Then, one human warship moved ahead of the fleet. Its armor was scarred from past battles, its design simple and brutal. But the energy around it was terrifying, like a storm waiting to break free. The aliens watched in silence, confusion spreading among their ranks. "What are they doing?" one soldier asked. "Why do they not fire? Why do they not send demands?" another said. No answer came. Inside the human flagship, the commander stood tall. His face was calm, his eyes cold. He did not need speeches. He did not need threats. His fleet knew what had to be done. The humans had come for war, and they would end it in seconds. The alien commander felt unease for the first time. The human fleet was too quiet, too disciplined, too ready. He remembered the strange readings from the scanners, the impossible numbers. For the first time in his long career, he wondered if they had made a mistake. The silence grew heavier. The humans did not blink. They did not speak. Their ships floated like iron monsters in the dark, and then, one word broke the silence. A single order from the human flagship: engage. The alien fleet shivered. The command deck of the alien flagship was filled with light from glowing plasma cannons. Rows of officers stood ready, their screens showing the advancing human fleet. Confidence returned to their eyes. They believed their weapons, unmatched in the galaxy, would crush the humans in seconds. The alien commander raised his hand. Fire. Across the war zone, hundreds of alien warships unleashed their power. Beams of plasma cut through the darkness, bright rivers of death surging toward the human fleet. Explosions lit up the stars and shockwaves of heat tore through space. The aliens roared in triumph before the battle had even ended, but their victory lasted only a moment. The human fleet did not burn. The plasma fire did not tear their ships apart. Instead, the beams vanished as they touched the invisible field surrounding the human warships. The alien officers stared in disbelief. Their weapons, feared across the galaxy, had turned into nothing. On the alien flagship, silence fell. How is that possible? One officer stammered. Our readings show 0 damage, another whispered. They should be destroyed, cried a third. The commander clenched his fists. His mind struggled to understand. Plasma cannons had erased civilizations. Entire empires had fallen to this fire. And yet the humans stood untouched. The human fleet did not fire back immediately. They remained still as if studying the enemy. The silence was worse than any weapon. It made the aliens tremble because silence meant control. Silence meant patience. Silence meant power. Then the humans moved. The flagship sent out another single command. Not a speech. Not a declaration. Just one word repeated across their comms. Advance. The fleet surged forward like black knives cutting through the void. Engines blazed with a controlled fury, and the silence broke into a terrifying rhythm. The sound of human war machines moving in perfect unity. Alien soldiers felt fear rising in their hearts. They fired again, desperate, sending storm after storm of plasma, yet every shot vanished into the void, absorbed by the invisible fields. The humans ignored the attacks as if they were nothing more than sparks against iron. Then it happened. A single human ship broke formation. Its weapons glowed faintly, just faintly, as if warming up. Then, with a flash of light, it released its first strike. The alien warship at the front line did not explode. It did not crumble. It simply vanished. One moment it was there, a giant fortress of steel and plasma, and the next it was gone. The space where it stood was left empty, as if it had been erased from existence. The alien fleet froze. Every officer, every soldier, every commander stared in horror. This was not destruction. This was something worse. This was complete annihilation. Another human ship fired. Another alien warship disappeared. Then another. And another. Within seconds, 5 massive alien ships were gone, leaving nothing behind. The aliens panicked. Some ships broke formation, trying to retreat. Others fired blindly, hoping to hit something. The battlefield that had once been filled with order now fell into chaos. But the humans, they remained calm. Their fleet advanced slowly, methodically, like predators who had already won. Every movement was measured. Every strike was precise. Inside the alien flagship, voices screamed. They are erasing us. This is impossible. No weapon can do this. The commander's hands shook as he tried to regain control. Hold your positions. Fight back. Overwhelm them with numbers. But numbers did not matter anymore. The human fleet began to unleash its true power. Ship after ship opened fire. Their weapons were not beams, not plasma, not missiles. They were something beyond the alien understanding. Something that bent space itself. Each shot tore holes in reality, swallowing alien warships whole. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds. What had taken the alien empire centuries to build was being destroyed in moments. And still the humans remained silent. No laughter. No shouts, no celebration. Just cold efficiency. The alien soldiers felt their courage break. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they understood what it meant to be prey. Their strongest weapons were useless. Their proudest fleets were falling apart like sand. Their empire's power meant nothing before the humans. On the command deck, the commander whispered to himself, his voice trembling. This cannot be real. But it was real. The first strike had begun, and it was not a battle. It was an execution. The humans did not just fight. They erased. They consumed. They destroyed with such speed and precision that the war zone itself seemed to collapse under their power. And as the alien fleet screamed, burned and disappeared into nothing, one truth spread like a shadow through every survivor's heart. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm. The battlefield was no longer a place of war. It had turned into a graveyard, where once hundreds of alien warships had stood in proud formation. Now only broken fragments drifted through space. Flames burned across shattered hulls. Debris floated lifelessly, and the screams of dying soldiers filled the comm channels. The humans had fired only a handful of shots, but already the alien fleet was crumbling. Inside the alien ships, panic spread like fire. Soldiers shouted across their decks, their voices shaking. "Our shields are useless. We cannot lock onto their ships. They are everywhere." Fear crawled into their bones. These were not cries of warriors. These were the voices of prey who knew the predator had found them. The alien commander tried to hold control, but his words no longer carried weight. He shouted for order, for resistance, but the soldiers heard only the silence of the human fleet closing in. That silence was louder than any weapon. The aliens had fought countless enemies before. They had seen planets burn, species die, empires collapse. Yet never had they faced an enemy who moved like this. The humans were calm, cold, ruthless. No wasted shots, no chaotic attacks. Every human strike removed a warship from existence. Not destroyed, erased. As if the ship had never existed. As if the lives inside had never mattered. One alien officer stared at the battlefield in horror. "They are not fighting us. They are cleansing us." The words spread like poison through the crew. In the lower decks of alien ships, soldiers whispered to each other in terror. Many could not breathe, their chests heavy with dread. They had joined the Empire believing it was invincible. Now they realized the Empire itself was trembling. Across the Empire's command network, desperate messages flowed. Admirals demanded reinforcements. Generals screamed for answers. But no reinforcements came. No answers existed. Every transmission carried the same message: we cannot stop them. The fear did not stop at the battlefield. It spread across the Empire like a shadow. Leaders far away, sitting in their golden towers, began to feel cold sweat on their skin. They had mocked humanity. They had called them children of a small planet, reckless and fragile. But those children were erasing fleets built over centuries. In the Warzone, another alien squadron tried to retreat. Their ships turned sharply, engines burning at full power, racing away from the human fleet. Hope flickered for only a moment. Then the humans struck. With a single order, 3 human ships bent space itself. Reality cracked around the fleeing squadron, trapping them inside a collapsing field. The alien ships twisted, stretched, and vanished into darkness. Not a single piece of debris remained. The retreat had failed. Alien soldiers screamed in despair. Some dropped their weapons. Others begged their commanders to flee. Discipline shattered. The once proud fleet had become a herd of terrified prey. Inside the human flagship, the commander stood silent. His crew did not need encouragement. They knew their role. Their eyes were steady, their hands firm. The humans were not fighting for glory. They were not fighting for fear. They were fighting with cold precision, as if this battle was nothing more than a calculation, and that calmness broke the enemy's spirit more than any weapon could. Alien spies who had studied humans before now felt dread unlike anything they had imagined. They remembered the history of Earth, how humans had once fought each other with fire, steel, and bombs, destroying millions without hesitation. They remembered how humanity had survived famines, diseases, and wars that should have ended them. Now that same species held weapons no one else could understand. One alien whispered in horror, "If they could do this to themselves, what will they do to us?" The fear spread deeper. Across the battlefield, alien commanders realized they were no longer in control. Their soldiers did not obey. Their fleets did not hold formation. Courage had turned to dust, and still the human fleet advanced. Every second, another alien warship vanished. Every second, the screams grew louder. Every second, the fear spread further, choking every heart that still dared to fight. The alien commander gripped the edge of his command chair. His eyes were wide, his voice shaking. He could not stop the thought that burned inside him. This is not war. This is extinction. He looked at the dark, silent human ships approaching, and for the first time in his life, he felt what so many conquered species had felt under his own empire's boot. Helplessness. The fear was complete. The humans had not only broken the alien fleet, they had broken the will of an entire empire. And as the alien soldiers realized they were staring into the end, one question echoed in every terrified mind across the battlefield. How could such fragile creatures from a small planet carry such terrible power? The alien empire had never known fear like this. Their fleets, once thought to be the strongest in the galaxy, were falling apart ship by ship. Soldiers who once shouted in victory now screamed in terror. Commanders who once believed in glory now begged for survival. Desperation spread through the war zone. Some alien captains tried to regroup, forming new lines of defense. Others broke rank, ordering retreats without permission. The battlefield that once looked like a wall of firepower now looked like scattered pieces of broken glass. The alien high command sent one final order through the comms. Hold the line. Do not retreat. The Empire must stand. But the order arrived too late. On the edge of the battlefield, human warships moved with silent precision. They did not rush. They did not hesitate. Their advance was slow, steady, and unstoppable, like a rising tide. The alien fleet opened fire again, unleashing everything they had left. Plasma storms cut across the void. Hundreds of missiles tore through space. Ion blasts glowed like suns crashing toward the humans. For a moment, the aliens believed their combined strike would break through. They prayed their sacrifice would matter. But as the storm reached the human fleet, the void swallowed it whole. The human shields shimmered faintly, then absorbed every shot. Not a single human ship was scratched. The aliens stared in silence. All their power had vanished into nothing. And then the humans answered. From the center of their fleet, a command spread like lightning. Human weapons came alive, glowing with a strange energy that twisted the stars themselves. Space rippled, bending like liquid, and in that instant the battlefield changed. Entire alien squadrons disappeared. Dozens of warships vanished in a wave of light. The aliens could not even scream before their ships were erased. On the alien flagship, the commander gripped the armrest of his chair so hard his claws broke. His voice cracked as he shouted, "We cannot win! Retreat, retreat now!" The officers hesitated. But the high command, "Forget the command." He roared, "Save what is left!" Panic broke what little order remained. Alien ships turned sharply, engines blazing, fleeing in all directions. The war zone became chaos. Ships collided in their desperation. Some exploded before even reaching open space. The humans did not chase, not at first. They waited, watching. And then, like hunters who had cornered their prey, they moved. The human fleet split apart with perfect coordination, cutting across the battlefield in silence. Every retreating alien ship found itself blocked, trapped between black iron hulls that moved faster than anything should. The aliens screamed over comms. "They are everywhere! We cannot escape! Gods, help us!" But no help came. One by one, the retreating ships were caught. Human weapons tore through them, not with fire but with annihilation. Space folded, ships vanished, and the battlefield grew quieter with each passing moment. Inside one alien cruiser, a captain made a desperate choice. His ship was heavily damaged, engines failing. Escape was impossible. He turned to his comms officer. "Send one last message to the Empire. They must know the truth." The officer nodded, his hands shaking as he transmitted the captain's words across the stars. "We underestimated them. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not prey. Humanity is extinction." The message spread, echoing through the Empire's network before the cruiser was swallowed by a human strike. Back on the human flagship, the commander stood silent. He watched as the enemy collapsed, as the war zone became still. His crew waited for orders, their faces calm, their eyes cold. They were not celebrating. There was nothing to celebrate. This was not victory. This was duty. The turning point had come. The alien empire, once the predator, was now the prey. Their fleets were broken. Their courage was gone. Their soldiers whispered only of death and the humans. They did not slow. They did not stop. They moved forward, erasing everything in their path. The galaxy would remember this moment. The war was no longer a battle between species. It was a reminder, a warning. Humanity had arrived, and nothing could stand against them. The battlefield was silent now. Where once 1,000 alien warships had burned like suns, now only shadows and debris floated in the endless dark. Twisted metal drifted aimlessly, glowing embers fading into the cold of space. The screams, the chaos, the thunder of weapons. Everything had ended. The human fleet remained. Not a single ship was lost. Not a single line was broken. They stood in perfect formation, black iron giants watching over the ruins they had created. Their silence was more terrifying than any weapon. On the alien side, Only a few shattered vessels survived. Engines flickered weakly. Hulls cracked. Soldiers whispered prayers to gods that no longer answered. Their commanders no longer gave orders. They only stared in disbelief, their eyes wide. Their voices gone. The war was over, but the true strike was still to come. Inside the human flagship, the commander stood at the center of the bridge. His uniform was simple, his face calm, his hands steady. Around him, the crew worked without panic, without excitement. They were not celebrating. To them, this annihilation was not glory. It was necessity. The commander's voice broke the silence. Deep, steady, unshaken, transmit. Across the battlefield, every surviving alien ship froze as their comms lit up. Across the Empire itself, leaders in golden towers stopped breathing as their screens came alive. Across distant colonies, civilians looked up in shock as a human face filled the stars. The commander spoke. "This is your first and last warning." His words were slow, heavy, and cold. Humanity does not seek war. Humanity does not seek conquest. But if you bring war to us, he paused, his eyes sharp as steel, you will not survive. The words echoed across every channel, across every corner of the galaxy. They were not shouted. They were not filled with anger. They were spoken with the calm certainty of truth. The message was short, but its weight was endless. Alien survivors trembled as they listened. Some lowered their heads in silence. Others cried out, begging for mercy. None dared to reply. On distant worlds, alien leaders felt the chill of fear spread through their bones. They realized what their fleet commanders had already learned. The humans had revealed only a fraction of their power, and that fraction had erased entire armadas. What else were they hiding? The galaxy had always seen humans as fragile, reckless, too young to be taken seriously, but now that illusion had shattered. Humanity had shown its true face. Cold, ruthless, unstoppable. The human fleet turned slowly, leaving behind the ruins of the enemy. They did not stay to collect trophies. They did not send envoys. They simply vanished back into the void, their ships disappearing into hyperspace as silently as they had arrived. The battlefield was left empty, a graveyard drifting in the cold dark. The surviving aliens sat in silence, staring at the ruins of their empire's pride. The final words of the human commander echoed in their minds, carved into their very souls. You will not survive. And from that day forward, a whisper spread across the galaxy. A whisper that carried in every council chamber, every war room, every shadowed tavern where soldiers told stories of battles. Do not awaken humanity. Do not test them. For if they rise in war, they will end you. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had spoken once, and once was enough.